Welcome everyone. It's a beautiful day and it's nice and warm under this tent. Yes. And once again, we're here to celebrate another great milestone in the history of Father Bill's and MainSpring and support for housing in the area here at the Stoughton Motel. My name is Al Becker. I'm president at Jack Conway & Company, and I'm chairman of the board of directors at Father Bill's and MainSpring. To get today's event started, I'd like to introduce our national anthem performers, the Stoccatos from Stoughton High School Choir Department. Welcome.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Wasn't that great? That was awesome. Special thanks to Sarah Mon, the high school's director of performing arts, there she waved, and its choral director for helping arrange today's performance. Okay, a little bit about why we're here today. In 2023, Father Bill's and MainSpring purchased the Stoughton Motel. The property had operated as a motel since the 1950s. Many of us probably drove by over the years, wondered what's going on in there. In March 25, Father Bill's MainSpring began converting to 24 efficiency apartments for formerly homeless individuals. The project's nearing completion now. Tenants are expected to move in. I know we'll have probably some updates on that. This is the second hotel to housing conversion for the organization. The first was in Brockton in 22. Father Bill's and MainSpring has been creative in exploring land use opportunities to build new housing, such as hotel conversions, nursing home conversions, redeveloping an old Army barracks in Brockton, which we just opened a few months ago, partnering with a bank in Randolph to build on vacant land behind the bank. With homelessness on the rise locally, statewide, and nationally, and amid uncertainty around the future of public funding, Father Bill's MainSpring has remained committed to a strategic plan: build more housing for our most vulnerable neighbors. The project we're celebrating today is the latest example made possible by all of you, our supporters that are here today. Now I'd like to welcome our MC, Father Bill's MainSpring CEO, John Yazwinski. John has been with Father Bill's MainSpring for nearly 30 years, starting as an intern at the Quincy Shelter. Since then, he's become one of the leading voices in the fight to end homelessness. And lately, his voice is helping shape the future of affordable housing in our state. He serves on Governor Healey's Housing Advisory Council, which helped create the state's comprehensive housing plan. And this year, he was appointed to the state's extremely low income commission and to its interagency housing and Homelessness External Advisory Council. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Al. I think when we think about today, but some of the boards I've been recently on, I think it's also after being in this fight to end homelessness for 28 years now, and I know I've been in a lot of tough meetings with the secretary and his administration, with the governor and lieutenant governor. I think I get invited to these meetings because I'm always speaking up the loudest in fighting for the people, but I appreciate the partnerships that we have. I want to thank Al for his leadership as chairperson of our board, and I want to thank all of our board members for their belief and confidence, even in these trying times, to double down on housing, to know that it works. So thank you to our board of directors for continuing to be confident and to be bold and be daring in these tough times. Thank you to our board of directors. You know, our shelter census for homeless individuals tonight in Quincy and Brockton, which has increased over 30% the last 2 years, will serve over 340 people tonight. Elders are our fastest growing population. Last year, about 400 guests of Father Bill's in MainSpring were 60 or older. This past year, though, we helped more than 350 individuals exit shelter into permanent housing. Our unsheltered population has increased in recent years. Our outreach team, our staff going out into the community where people are sleeping outside, have engaged with over 200 people, individuals, in this part of the state over this last year. On the family side, we have provided shelter to 284 families this past year, including 442 children. Of those 284 households served, we helped move 101 families into permanent housing. 101 families. We also operate 800 supportive housing units like the 24 we're adding today. In over 3 years, our tenants, 93% of them over 3 years remained housed. But more than a third of all of our housing tenants are elders. Agency-wide, Father Bill's in MainSpring served over 6,000 people annually, and we served over 300 veterans this past year. Please join me in thanking all of our staff for all of their hard work every day. You know, but we do this because we end homelessness one life at a time. And so I just want us to take a minute and see a video of one of our tenants.
My name is Ashley Darvelay. I am 38 years old. I was working. I was, living a normal life. Had a place. Everything was good up until when I got sick. When I got sick, I wasn't able to, first I was hospitalized for off and on for about 2 months, month and a half or so. So I wasn't able to work, wasn't able to pay my rent, my bills. So therefore I had no place to live. I stayed with family here and there and friends here and there, but initially I needed my own place, and my health was just getting worse and worse. To the point where I needed to be put on the transplant list, but because I had no place to live, they wouldn't put me on. Well, I'm originally from Quincy, so, I knew about Father Bill's, but I never thought I had to actually use that option in life. Being this young, I should be able to work and take care of my own responsibilities. So I reached out to anybody I could, anywhere I could, anybody that could help. I got different social workers, caseworkers, from doctor's offices, from Father Bill's, from anywhere I could get any assistance on finding a place that I could get the help I needed to get better. Nina, my caseworker, she helps the most out of a lot of people. She made me believe that there was hope and I was gonna be able to have a place. And like she said to me day one, she promised me I would. And the day she gave me the keys, she told me she held up to her end of her bargain. And she's right, she did. And her supervisor, Michaela, helped extremely a lot with pushing it along with putting as much fire into everybody that she could, because all I was doing was harassing every single organization and person I could, because I was stuck in a hospital bed and that's all I could do. So that's what I did. When I found out that I had housing, it was the biggest weight lifted off my shoulder, and as happy as I was, all I could do was cry. It's all I could do, and I just cried and cried, and I met with Nina and signed all the paperwork, and I just had to wait one more day for them to do the inspection, and it was the best day. It honestly was. I'm on the list. I am currently non-active on the list because now that I am in a stable housing environment, I am doing better health-wise. So now they're hoping that my numbers go down to where I can just take half of a liver instead of a full liver. But it's a good feeling. It's amazing. I couldn't ask for anything more. And then they went above and beyond to help and make sure that I had everything I needed for my place. Anything that I could think of, she said, write it down, we'll get you what we can. And they did. So that was a huge help. Please keep supporting, because your support means the most to people that actually do need it, that actually want it, that are fighting for this, because some people can't fight for what they need to, and with their help, people can get the help that they need, just like I got the help that I needed. And I can't thank them anymore. Then all I can do is just be so grateful for everything that I have got and all the help from all the donors.
You know, I think as we think about all of you here today, and this isn't the first project that all of us today have done together. We've done a lot in the past. Hopefully we'll do a lot in the future. But to think about Ashley and think about that's what we're doing together, is there's a lot of Ashleys out there. We really appreciate her willing to share her story today. And it takes a lot of people to pull off a project like this. And the first thing you need, of course, is a welcoming and accepting community. And one of the things when we looked at here in Stoughton is Father Bill's and MainSpring's been here for a long time. People that have, sad to say, fallen into homelessness in Stoughton have had to utilize the individual shelters in Brockton and Quincy. They've also welcomed us decades ago where we opened up a family shelter called the Evelyn House. And we've been here for decades supporting families that are experiencing homelessness. So when we came to Stoughton and asked about doing this type of supportive housing project, you know, can't say enough of the select board, the town manager, CPC, Community Preservation committed $250,000 to this project, to the State House delegation, and then thank you to the neighbors, to the abutters, to what we've been able to do here to transform this property to be a stability for the community and stability for the people here. So with that, I'd like to welcome our town manager of Stoughton, Tom Coulter, say a few words.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. I'd like to welcome our delegation, such hard workers, such committed leaders who help end this scourge of homelessness. I want to share with you just a brief, very brief, funny story. Ever since I left the legislature, I've become much more efficient with my words. In other words, I'm shorter. My father had 3 brothers, and they were all priests, and they were great friends of Father Bill's. And they went off to the military. They served as chaplains in the 101st, the 82nd Airborne, but never lost contact with Father Bill. And since leaving the legislature, well, before I get into that, Father Bill, Father Art, and Father John, my 3 uncles, dedicated 20% of their earnings while in the military, which is a bit more than being a parish priest, to Father Bill even before he started Father Bill's Place, in support of his mission, in support of his vision, and in respect for the man himself. Since becoming a town manager and having left the legislature, I don't attend events like this. They keep me pretty busy at my desk. But when the invitation came, and I'm not exaggerating at all, I left that behind as a politician as well. I woke up one morning and I swear I could hear Father Arthur talking to me saying, "You will go to that event. You will congratulate the Father Bill team that continues his vision, his legacy, and his leadership." And so that's why I'm here today. On behalf of the town of Stoughton, we want to tell you how proud we are to be your host community, and more importantly, to personally congratulate each and every one of you that made today and every day possible that you help end homelessness. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. God bless.
Thanks, Tom. I'll tell you, Father Bill really knows that Catholic guilt really well, doesn't he? He's still doing it today. I can tell Father Bill stories all day. Right now, these days are supposed to be, and they are still very exciting. But we are right now facing a real serious threat in Massachusetts to the support of housing that goes to our most vulnerable citizens. The Trump administration is proposing major policy changes with the HUD programs and drastic cuts where HUD is saying we don't want to pay for supportive housing anymore. This could affect over 3,800 families and individuals across the state over the next couple of years. Just here in this region, the HUD money that goes to support people like Ashley could affect us over, we could lose 349 units of housing like we're producing today. 75% of that is for individuals, 25% of that is for families, 101 children, total served by our continuum of care, could be evicted because HUD doesn't want to pay for housing. 42% are elders, 45% have a chronic health disability, 79% have a mental health disability. As we face these potential cruel actions, we know we have an organization and a community, an administration here to fight the fight. We also have a great fighter in Congressman Lynch, who personally understands the need for affordable housing and supportive housing. So I've worked with Congressman Lynch through the years, cannot say enough of his support for the vulnerable population. Our team was just with him last week, talking to him about these cuts. He's been working around the clock trying to get other Congresspeople to sign on to make sure this does not happen. But thank you, Congressman, for your support of this project, because this was a very heavily funded ARPA project, but also for being an ally to our most vulnerable citizens. So with that, please welcome Congressman Lynch.
Thanks, John. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Good morning, and John, thank you so much for your kind introduction. What about Staccato, those kids? That was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. I've got to hire them. I was going to come up and sing this morning, but after them, I said that idea is going away. First of all, thank you all for being here, and again, thank you, Tom Coulter, for your leadership in terms of the town of Stoughton. These are hard. These are not easy projects to get done. I am blessed. Right now, we have more deeply affordable and low-income and emergency housing being created in our congressional district than probably any congressional district, certainly any congressional district in New England, and with the exception of New York, which has 11 million people, probably east of the Mississippi. So we're doing our part in our district, but these projects are hard. There's a fear, I think, in some communities about what might happen when the government comes in and you fund a project to take a group of vulnerable, unstable, needy families or individuals and provide housing for them, especially if there might be psychiatric instability in that population, which we so often see when we take people who are homeless, especially long-term homeless. But I just want to say it takes a lot of people, and it takes a lot of people to get the trust that's necessary for these projects to go forward. And in doing that, Tom Coulter, John Yaswinski, Senator Driscoll, Senator Phillips, Representative Ted Phillips, those are the people who are most relied upon. They're elected to personify the will of the general community. And so to those individuals, I just want to say thank you for your willingness to stand up for the most vulnerable people in our society. Secretary Ed Augustus has been a champion all along. We do this quite a bit in our district. Right now we're just finishing up on 1,100 units in South Boston. It's called the Ann Lynch Homes at Old Colony, named after my mom. I grew up in public housing myself, my 5 sisters, my mom and dad, 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms. And if we didn't have the projects back then, and it was the Catholic priests in South Boston that asked to convert military housing into family housing that allowed us to have a home back in the day. So I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate the work that was done by others so that my family would have a roof over our head. To Joyce Tavin, who is the CEO of the Mass Housing and Shelter Alliance, thank you so much for your great work. And Joyce's group was down last week in D.C. as John pointed out, just advocating on behalf of federal policies that will allow this work to continue. We've got some headwinds. Not only on housing but on health care. This is the reason the government was shut down for 46 days. because Democrats, and I don't like to get political at these events, but this is how it is. We were fighting because we wanted families to have health care. We wanted families to have access to housing. Pretty basic. And that's what that fight was about. Unfortunately, we had a number of senators that went over to the other side, which is deeply unfortunate, but we're going to continue the fight. This current continuing resolution lasts until January, but after that, we'll be able to get back at it. And we've got a couple of amendments that are coming up next week that might be able to help address the cuts to HUD. I think it's 65 million we will lose in Massachusetts if we allow things to stay where they are right now. And as well, there are some ancillary programs that are supportive of people who will occupy this development that are threatened as well. But we will continue to fight. I think the American people are on our side. I think what we saw a couple of weeks ago on Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, was a signal that the American people want us to take care of the most vulnerable in our society and want us to treat every person with the dignity that human beings deserve. Unfortunately, in Massachusetts, because of the cost of housing, we've seen greater numbers of people seeking emergency housing. And I just want to say thank you. My district is blessed. I have 3 cities, Boston, Quincy, and Brockton, and I've got 18 towns, including Stoughton. But Father Bill's in MainSpring is across my district. And as John indicated a little earlier, we got that project on the Brockton VA site. So we were able to donate some land there. And Father Bill's in MainSpring has created a beautiful development there. We can house homeless veterans, but we can also, if it's not completely occupied, we can take others in, non-veterans as well, to help those families and individuals as well. So I just want to say thank you. You know, every team needs a quarterback, and John Yazwinski is our quarterback when we talk about emergency housing and shelter availability in our state. And I think the governor chose wisely in terms of asking John to join her board and joining in the fight. We take a powerful step today toward changing that story for the most vulnerable members of our society. Again, I want to thank the families of Stoughton because they were willing to take a chance on this site, willing to go that extra mile to try to take care of those who need that chance that the young woman talked about earlier in her talk about what that meant to her in terms of rescuing her from her situation. These units will provide compassion, hope, and affirm the belief that everyone deserves a safe place to call home. And Father Bill's in MainSprings has been doing this for over 40 years. So it has been a true mission to help those experiencing homelessness and providing emergency and supportive housing and the life skill programs to people in needs of stability. And this converted motel will add another 24 units. I'm a little jealous because I live in a studio condo in DC for 4 days a week. That is about half the size of the units that are in here. So I'm a little bit jealous, but seriously, the quality of the construction. I had an opportunity to join Secretary Augustus and Senator Driscoll and Representative Phillips and John and walk through. And the access, the handicap access, just the surroundings itself is a beautiful environment on the small side because they're single occupancy, but just gave me hope. And I can only imagine how a person would feel going from abject homelessness and insecurity to becoming a resident in one of these rooms, one of these beautiful rooms that offer all of that security, stability, and a loving community around them. That's 824 places that Father Bill's has created for homeless families or individuals to reside safely and stay warm during these winter months. This is in a way a one-of-a-kind project, and it should serve as an example of how we should treat those who are less fortunate among us. And it stands as a reminder of what we can achieve when we all put together our time and effort into helping others. This is a real collaboration. It takes everyone working together. I know there was $2.5 million in federal funding that we provided to make the acquisition at the beginning. But then we had to go to the House of Representatives. And Ted Phillips was our champion there to make sure that the funding got through the House. And when that part was done, it had to go to the Senate. We had to rely on Senator Driscoll to fight for the resources for this project and make sure that it was a priority. And then it had to go to Ed Augustus to advocate on behalf of the governor to make sure that we had both houses supporting that initiative. So, and then at the town level, you know, we had to have our Board of Selectmen and town manager be champions at that juncture. And so all of these things had to go right in order for this project to become a reality. And I want to thank the MHSA, the Mass Housing Shelter Alliance, and the town of Stoughton, a partnership of hard work, dedication, and empathy. And again, this is a project which I think provides an example of what is possible in these times. And I'm enormously proud to represent the town of Stoughton in the United States Congress. I try every day to live up to the high expectations of the families here. And, you know, Stoughton is a shining example of what's best about America. They care about their most vulnerable. They care about their children. You saw those kids that were singing up here earlier. They care about their seniors. You see that every day in the way Stoughton treats our Council on Aging initiatives. They take care of their veterans. You can see how veterans are such a priority in this community. They're a shining example of what's best about America. And I'm deeply honored to be able to represent them every day in Congress. So God bless you all. God bless Father Bill's MainSpring. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman, for that support and those great thoughts. And if you have any other land you want to donate, we're ready here at Father Bill's and MainSpring. As we face these challenging times, Father Bill's and MainSpring will continue to develop supportive housing. Our plan over the next several years is to develop 150 units of supportive housing. It will take both public and private resources to do this. Right now on the horizon, where we've already got the support of the state for funding, is another project called Roadway 2, right behind the initial conversion. You can see it right up there. The other project we've got coming is in Quincy. We'll be developing another 24 units of new construction, already sited, already locally approved, and already publicly funded. We also are looking to do a development in Plymouth, not just to do more housing units, but there is no year-round shelter. We are sheltering in the churches like we started at Father Bill's in MainSpring in the early 80s. We'd like to bring the housing resource model on a very scaled down so people will have an emergency shelter bed year-round, plus hopefully up to 24 units of new housing. That gets us to over 109 units of the 150 goal. But we also have to raise private money, and Father Bill's in MainSpring has committed to raise $10 million privately as we continually rely on the public resources to come in as a partnership. The Healy and Driscoll administration has been a tremendous partner with past projects and these that are in process. Secretary Augustus has been a major force and friend with supportive housing, especially the Affordable Homes Act, the bond bill. But also knowing that Housing and Livable Communities in the state also oversees the emergency shelter system. The last 2 winters, as I've said, we've seen record numbers of people coming to our doors. The Secretary has championed to find winter overflow money across the state to get to the front lines of the emergency shelters so people don't sleep outside in the winter. I've had the pleasure to serve on a few of these housing commissions with the Secretary. We all went through, of course, the immigration crisis in the Commonwealth. And the family homeless system stepped up and made sure that anyone that was going to sleep outside have a place to stay. This administration, this Secretary, moved mountains to make sure that women and children and individuals had a safe place to stay, no matter if you had newly arrived here or if you had been born here. This administration is very committed to solutions. And we can't say enough and really appreciate Secretary Augustus' support on this project, past projects, and future projects. So with that, please welcome Secretary Augustus.
Thank you, John, for that generous introduction. And I want to echo the thanks that the previous speakers had given to John, to the board of Father Bill's and MainSpring, and all of the staff and all of the folks who financially support this organization and its important mission. John is a true leader. We have him on all of these boards because we know John won't just go along with the program. John will hold us accountable. John will say, hey, you're not going far enough, or you're not thinking about this, or don't forget about this piece. And that's what we need. We don't need people who are just going to say yes all the time. We need people who are going to prod and move us to solutions on behalf of Ashley, who we heard from earlier, and all of the folks who are served by this important organization. So, John, thank you for your leadership and for your conscience on these issues. I'm here on behalf of myself and the team at HLC, and particularly on behalf of Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. Housing has been a top priority for this governor and her administration. That is reflected in the historic Affordable Homes Act, $5.3 billion of authorized new funding to support a whole array of housing programs, everything from supportive housing to building new affordable housing to improving and updating and modernizing and decarbonizing our 43,000 state-owned units of public housing, as Congressman Lynch talked about. We're doing that all across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, really guided by the principle that every person in Massachusetts deserves to live in a safe, healthy, and dignified home. That is the North Star. That's the principle we're shooting for. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Senator Driscoll and Representative Phillips and former Senator Timilty for their support of the Affordable Homes Act. That would not have happened without the support of the legislature. We proposed a bill that had a lot of good ideas. Not only was that funding, it was 49 different policy changes, everything from ADUs as of right. And that was made better and improved upon by the legislature. So I want to acknowledge and thank them all for their support of those important resources, some of which are deployed in projects like this and in the projects that are on the screen that are in the process. So it is a partnership, and I really want to acknowledge Congressman Lynch. We need fighters in Washington now more than ever. Every single day it is an assault on the safety net for the most vulnerable people, whether it be health care or SNAP benefits or housing. We need to fight back. We need to make sure we have voices in Washington that are speaking on behalf of the people who don't always have a voice. And we are fortunate to have Congressman Lynch at the point of the spear in that fight in Washington. I want to thank him for what he's doing at this important time. This is how it's supposed to work. If you look at the array of resources, this is kind of federalism in action. This is federal ARPA dollars. This is a number of state resources. This is local CPA dollars and local community support. And again, big shout out to the town of Stoughton. A lot of people, I think you probably couldn't find anybody who wouldn't say, yeah, we should do something about homelessness. You see an encampment, you see somebody who's panhandling, you see somebody who's shivering in a doorway and say, we should do something about that. Oftentimes, it's just not here. Just do something about that, but do it someplace else. Stoughton, to your credit, you stood up and you said, we'll be part of the solution. These are some of our neighbors, and we're going to be part of the solution. That doesn't always happen. You deserve an awful lot of credit for that. So we need to... We need to keep working together, every level of government, along with community, along with not-for-profit partners. That is, at the end of the day, how we in a democracy solve our problems. You know, you hear people say, somebody should do something about that. This is us working collectively through our government, through these partnerships, doing something about that. So congratulations to everybody who was involved in doing something about this issue. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you, Secretary, for your continued commitment. Look forward to meeting these great challenges together. As the Secretary talked about the political will that's needed, I would like to formally thank and ask both our state senator and state rep for coming out today. So State Senator Bill Driscoll and State Rep Ted Phillips, as people have said, were in on day one. They were supportive of our application to the state. They helped us at the local level. And it was great because they came out even right in the middle of the construction project. And we had the hard hats, and we were going over all the plans so they could answer any questions and make sure that they could respond to the community's concerns. That's all we ask is a fair shake, and we really appreciated that. So with that, I'd like to ask both State Senator Bill Driscoll and State Rep Ted Phillips to come up for a brief statement.
Thank you, John, and to your team. Thanks for having us here. Yeah, we were able to tour a few months ago. I think it was the early summer, so the project's come a long way since then, and I wanted to say a few things, one of which was, you're a trusted partner. Father Bill's in MainSpring, having represented Randolph for a number of years as well, and so we knew this project was in good hands. Congressman Lynch hit the nail on the head in terms of laying out the whole of government that was involved in this and getting this project to where it is today and move in ready pretty soon. And so we thank your team for all of that work. And having done some repair and rebuild construction type work in a previous life and after disasters, I know there was some really good decisions made in how you did that. We took I think it was still stick frame, roughed in when we went through originally. And so, yeah, I could see why you'd be jealous if you only have a small studio in DC, Congressman. I want to make sure we also recognize Governor's Counselor Civil, who's here today with us to talk about, again, whole of government. Because the other thing I wanted to say, Ashley touched upon it in the video when she started to talk about the caseworker that she worked with. I know all of us, whether at the Governor's Council, in DC, at the federal level, local and state, we do a lot with constituents, what's referred to as constituent services, I'm sure you've heard of or been involved in yourself. We know that the toughest things are the things you can't do for people. And so it's important for days like today, when we are here celebrating the opening of 20 plus units, because there's so much work that goes into getting this to fruition. to a point where we're going to take care of folks in the community. And again, for Stoughton for stepping up, for the Secretary's office, for knocking down barriers to getting this project built. There's so many hours of work that go in behind the scenes, as you all know, I've used experience personally, I've been involved with. And so it's really important that we commemorate days like today, because this is what it's about when they're going to hand those keys over. And I know that folks are going to go right back to work and start focusing on those next projects. And so it's an honor to be here today, honor to represent Stoughton, and do have the fortunate, great team member in Ted Phillips, who's actually been in the legislature, I think, longer than me, because he was there as a staff person beforehand. But Representative Phillips is a great partner as well. So.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning, everybody. This is an awesome way to end a week. I mean, Patriots win last night, and we're cutting the ribbon this morning. This is great to be here. We were very, very excited, Senator Driscoll and myself, when we got the invite to come tour earlier this year, knowing that Father Bill's has been such a valued partner for us in Stoughton, done all the great work that they've done over at Evelyn House, knowing that they were going to be responsible for this site. We were thrilled, and John, you did not disappoint. This has been a great partnership, but these partnerships cost money, right? These projects take a lot of resources, and with over $10 million that needed to go into this, there were a lot of people that had to step up and provide that funding. So with that, I want to add my voice in gratitude to Congressman Lynch, who was able to shepherd ARPA dollars towards this project and bring us the federal resources, to Secretary Augustus, who was able to cobble multiple pots of money for us at the state level, and to our town, led by Tom Coulter and the select board. Deb Roberts, our vice chair, is here today. Thank you, Deb, for coming. And they stepped up and helped lead the charge with CPC funding. I also want to thank some of our private investments, South Shore Bank, who stepped up big for us. All of them made today possible. And of course, the linchpin of all this, John Yazwinski and the team of Father Bill's. John is a regional force of nature, and we are so lucky to have him and his team. I also want to give a special shout out to Pat Ronan, who's been our point of contact throughout this project. But we are just so grateful for the work that he does, for the work that he continues to do, and I know the work that we're all going to continue to do together. So thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. I'm very excited to get this ribbon cut.
A shout out to the Patriots. Father Bill's in MainSpring, actually, the Patriots Foundation picked us as one of their top charities over the next 3 years of partnership. Financial resources, but also really getting their full foundation and their players involved in our mission, which is wonderful too. So, no one likes to be the first ones in on a deal. It's really hard to figure out who wants to take this kind of an idea and say, oh yeah, I'll help you buy that. I'll get in early on that. Well, there is a group in Massachusetts that we turn to a lot and say, hey, we're gonna buy this rundown property or distressed property or this area, and we may have opposition, we may not have opposition. It's a $10 million project, but we got $0 right now. Well, you know who does that? Is CDAC. And they've been doing it for years with us. Yes, Community Economic Development Assistance Corp. They're a quasi-public-private organization in the state. And they really came in early and gave us the acquisition money flowing through, the loan, the pre-development money. So we can't say enough. And if you've been to our other projects, you always hear about CDAC. Can't say enough of their partnership with the state, Housing Livable Communities, and the partnership with organizations like Father Bill's in MainSpring. Of course, we need more affordable housing, but supportive housing is really hard. And we need the lenders and the investors and people to be comfortable with this type of housing. So thank you, of course, to Will and Sarah for all your support. And we're excited that Ethan Handelman has joined the organization probably about 8-9 months ago or so. We're excited that we've been, you guys are continuing to partner us with this and with the other projects, hopefully with Plymouth as we move forward. But we greatly appreciate all of CDAC's support, and I'd like us all to welcome Ethan back to Massachusetts. Thank you, Ethan.
Well, thank you, John, for that really kind introduction and the welcome back to Massachusetts, because it feels like a homecoming. I had about 14 years in DC, most recently at HUD during the Biden administration, and being back in a place that is so wholeheartedly in support of affordable housing is amazing. It's also pretty special to be here in Stoughton. I used to live in Randolph, so not far, and I'm glad to be your constituent again, Congressman. It's great. And as John said, CDAC has been with Father Bills and MainSpring from the beginning. We put in the early money. That's what we do. That's why we were created. Some of it was a pre-development loan, that very first money in. A whole bunch of it was the ARPA supportive housing money. And we say ARPA, we toss the acronym out a lot. It's worth remembering this was the American Rescue Plan. This was the Biden-Harris administration seeing what was needed, and Congress seeing what was needed back in 2020 and 2021. It was rough. A bunch of that money flowed quickly. Some of it works a little slower, and it is finally coming together here. I'll talk more about that in a second, but I think it's important also to recognize all of the work that went into this. And we've heard lots of thank yous throughout this, and I want to extend my thank you to Father Bills at MainSpring and the whole team there, and give a special shout out to Will Morgan on our team and Emily Rothschild, development consultant, who put a whole lot of time and effort into this, and have also done a lot of learning by doing with these motel conversions, because that's not easy. That's complicated stuff, and it was not something that 5 years ago people were thinking about doing. But the need is great, and the creativity is equal to that need, and so I'm really pleased. So just a quick thank you to that whole team. So I mentioned we did pre-development funds. I mentioned we did a whole lot more of ARPA funds that came in, that ARPA supportive housing money. And the reason it is supportive housing money is because of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and because of HLC, because they saw, hey, this American Rescue Plan is happening. Where is the need? A whole bunch of it is supportive housing. And CDAC is privileged to be part of the help, working very closely with the HLC to do the underwriting and do some of the thinking and helping it get into individual projects. And it actually became permanent sources in this project. So it is part of the complicated capital stack that goes in to make this possible, along with a whole bunch of the Commonwealth's own funds. And just to be clear, this project would not have happened without HLC, without the Commonwealth stepping up. You do not see this level of creativity and development in every state. Massachusetts is special, and other folks should look to us as an example. What we're seeing today is a realization of those public funds flowing in, the creativity going to work, the near miraculous work of development. And I say that not just because it's Father Bills and MainSpring. I say that about every developer, regardless of their affiliation. It is a minor miracle every time a development deal comes together. So it's just an honor to be here to celebrate the work, and especially to welcome the folks like Ashley that you heard from and the many others who will soon call this home. And I am hopeful that we're in many of the other deals that John put on the screen to see that continue to come to fruition. So big thanks to everyone here for all of their support, and just really glad to celebrate with you.
Thank you, Ethan. So I was a housing search worker in 1996 at Father Bill's when I met Joyce Tavon. She was running an organization in Boston that's now called Home Start. I was kind of the only housing search worker in this part of the state. And so I would go to Joyce's. She had a bunch of housing specialists in Boston, and I would go in and just say, hey, can I kind of join your team? But I don't work here, so I can learn how to do this job right out of college. To be honest, I was maybe a little afraid of Joyce at the time. But through the years, Joyce has been a consultant for Father Bills in MainSpring on all this HUD funding. She then became part of our leadership team as an employee at Father Bills in MainSpring. Then went back out to the consulting world, and now is leading the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. You know, Mahasa through the years, through the decades, has been that advocacy group in Massachusetts that has really said we can't continue to manage homelessness. We need to be innovative. We need best practices. And they've got some programs in the state and private that they give towards projects like this, like Home and Healthy for Good, that's in the state line item. Mahasa came in, not first, but second in the deal. They invested some of their Home and Healthy for Good money. That's not just for capital, but it's also will be for operations of the program here. And then after we started to see some of the costs go up, inflation, I went back to Joyce, and Mahasa delivered some more money. So again, I can't say enough of Joyce and Mahasa and how they're so solution-based. And I want to really thank Joyce for her leadership and how excited we are that she's leading the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. So with that, please join us in welcoming Joyce Talbot.
Thank you. Actually, John, before I was at Homestart, I was almost as young as you when you were an intern when I started at Mahasa, a long, long time ago. So as John said, we, Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance, are an advocacy organization, but a little bit different. Sometimes we have to speak up to government and say, hey, we think things can be done differently and better. But a lot of times we're saying, we want to work with you on how to be part of coming up with solutions. Because our focus as an alliance is partnership. And as you heard, we have a great partner in Secretary Augustus and the whole team at EOHLC, CDAC. I could go on and on, loads of partners. And of course, most importantly, our 100-member organizations across the state. They run emergency shelter, they provide services, and they create and run supportive housing. And Father Bills in MainSpring is a leader in that. And I know you're going to think I'm just biased because I had worked here in this region, but they really are. They're really leading the way in so many important ways. So you heard mention Home and Healthy for Good is an initiative we have now 20 years old that is taking state dollars and investing them flexibly. Huge thank you to our state legislators who helped make that possible. And it's also critical to us not only that the money is invested flexibly, but we get it out into communities like Stoughton that don't always get easy access to these kinds of resources, and for some of these smaller projects. So it's wonderful to have been a part of this. And yes, early February 2023, I get that call from John, just checking to see if there was any money available. And at the time, thankfully, there was. It is wonderful to be here on this sunny day because, as you heard earlier, our sector has really been under a dark cloud lately. You know, it's hit the news around Medicaid and SNAP and all of that. But what's been flying under the radar and was referenced today is this long-standing resource through HUD that for 25 years there was bipartisan support and dollars invested in our whole network of supportive housing. It's what helped us create 3,800 units of housing. And it's called homeless assistance, but at this point it is funding the rent for people who are disabled and used to be homeless. And we are trying to do everything we can to retain that. And unfortunately, last night, while some were watching the Patriots game, my amazing staff, and John, your amazing staff, sent out word to us, oh, The competitive application notice just came out at 8 o'clock at night, and they're busy reading it. And unfortunately, some of the worst that was predicted is in there. They're talking about we can only apply for 30% of what we currently get for supportive housing. So here we are, we got 3,800 units, nearly 4,000 households. Who gets thrown off the lifeboat and who gets to stay? Thankfully, in this state, we're going to be figuring this out together. Thankfully, we have a tremendous congressional delegation. Congressman Lynch has talked about the efforts still to try to restore that resource. Because, by the way, this is not a budget cut. The dollars are there. It's a policy change. This administration doesn't want to fund solutions and somehow think all these households with just a little bit of short-term help, it's all magically going to get resolved. So we got some emergency meetings later today, and we know our friends in Congress are also doing what they can. We got a lot of work ahead, but it's wonderful to just be part of like a moment of parting of the dark clouds to celebrate, because this is it. These are the solutions that we need, supportive housing like this. Thank you.
Yeah, Joyce was texting me last night saying I was got to be on a 3 o'clock call today and a 4:30 call today, so it's continuing. You know, we've had great partnership through the years with South Shore Bank. When I first joined Father Bill's in MainSpring, they were our operating bank. Father Bill used to go down and meet with Arthur Conley, who was the CEO at the time. South Shore Bank has always had a board representative with us. South Shore Bank has been part of leadership cabinet groups. Under Jim Dunphy's leadership, we've seen the foundation give tremendous support both to our Yawkey Housing Resource Center in Quincy, the Smith Family HRC in Brockton. You know, to think about the DNA of this bank, in 2001, we had a teen shelter in Weymouth, the only teen shelter in the region that was privately owned for a person in Florida. And they went to the nonprofit that operated it and they said, you've got a week to buy it or I'm putting it on the market. It's a beautiful house for nine teenagers that provided emergency shelter for them. And the organization that was running it at the time was not bankable. So who did they call? They called Father Bill. And who did Father Bill call? He called South Shore Bank, and then he called Tom Flatley, who was a big friend of the agency. He brought South Shore Bank and Tom in and saw the kids, and in the parking lot, we got done a down payment and a mortgage. And from that point forward, the bank has continued to be a great community partner with places like Father Bill's and so many more. They actually ended up being the partner on with us permanent financing for our veterans house in Hingham, even when all that wasn't the most popular thing to do. And then this past week, we sent an email blast to all of our supporters because we do a huge Thanksgiving dinner for all of the families, all the individuals in our programs, but also we deliver meals to people in the community on Thanksgiving Day. We've been doing it for over 30 years. Costs us about $25,000 to feed about over 1,500 people. And we said we're about $10,000 away from reaching our goal. And what do I get 10 minutes after that email? Jim and his team email us and say, we're gonna give you $5,000 right now. We're gonna give you $5,000. So South Shore Bank is the permanent lender here, $1 million to help us get the deal done. But also thank you for being willing to lend to projects like this. These are hard projects. And thank you for the belief in our mission. So with that, please welcome the CEO of South Shore Bank, Jim Dunphy.
Thank you, John. That was a great story of all the neat things we do. And I'm very proud of the long relationship we've had with Father Bill's in MainSpring. And to see the creativity of, hotel conversions and all the different projects we've been able to look at. And every time I come to one of these events and I get to watch through and see videos of Ashley and the other things, it just really hits home as to why, as a community bank, we want to be involved in this. So keep up the good work. A lot of people came together to get this done, and we're very proud to be a part of it. So congratulations and thank you.
I also want to, I think they've got a shout out, but of course I wanted to also thank the Tanisha Civil, the Governor's Council. Thank you for your support. As I mentioned before, we had such great support from the Select Board in Stoughton. So Deborah Roberts, thank you so much for your support through the process. But I also just want to go off script for a second because we've had a long time senator in our region who isn't our senator anymore. But through the years, Walter Tibblety, the former senator of this area, has always been there for his constituents, had always been there for Father Bill's in MainSpring. And when we started this project, he was the senator so in the early days. And so just wanted to give Walter an opportunity to come up because in the few days before he left, and through all the years, and he still calls me with constituent issues. He never stops working for people in our communities. I think he now is at the Norfolk County Clerk's office, of course. But with that, I just wanted to say thank you, Walter, and if you'd like to come up and say a brief words.
John, thank you very much for the kind introduction. And to Pat Ronan, thank you, Pat, for the invitation. It's truly an honor to be here to once again celebrate the greatness that is Father Bill's Place, in conjunction, of course, with Congressman Lynch, Secretary Augustus, and Rep. Phillips. And I must say, Congressman Lynch and Secretary Augustus and Rep. Phillips, I thank you for being the great partners you've always been to me and working for all of the citizens that we work for. And we're all in agreement, and I know this to be sure, Congressman Lynch and I have talked about this before, Father Bill's is such a force for good around this region. A force for good. Wherever Father Bill stakes its claim, whether it be in Randolph, where veterans housing was built, that I was privileged to work with you, down in Brockton, in Quincy, or here in the great town of Stoughton, where I again commend the town fathers and town mums here for having the foresight to support this great project. Father Bill's is an asset for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it is an institution, wherever it goes, that brings goodness. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of great staff, and it happens because of great partnerships in government, and also with our wonderful partners in the private sector like Jim Dunphy. So congratulations to Stoughton. John Yaswinski, you are truly a quarterback. I don't know if you have the arm of Drake May just yet, but you certainly move the ball down the field and get it across the goal line for all of us. And thank you all. God bless. Have a wonderful day.
So as we wrap up today, a few things also is that we decided to do this a little early because we know winter is coming. So as you get a tour later today, or in a few minutes, you'll know that we're not finished, but it looks beautiful already. And you can see how such a calming place and loving place this will be for people. And as many of the speakers have said, the quality of the construction, and you can't do this without a great development team. You cannot do this without a team that puts everything together. So real quickly, I just want to give a shout out to the development team that put this project together. So you've got, of course, NeighborWorks of Housing Solutions, special shout out to Emily Rothschild and Tim Doherty, our architects, Westwork, Katie Faulkner and Mike Mariota. The New Vision Enterprise, our general contractors who are here, Joe and Justin, thank you, on time, like unbelievable. Want to thank our civil engineer, Cameron Campbell from D-Cell Burke and Salsa. Every deal like this takes attorneys. Sad to say, it takes a lot of attorneys. And so Hackett Feinberg, Kim Epstein, and our local attorney, John McCluskey from Brockton, of course, thank you. You know, in a sense of this is when we first started coming to Stoughton, you know, we were like, we need to have a community meeting and meet with our neighbors and everything. And so we reached out to Reverend Carlos Suarez, the pastor at the Stoughton Catholic parishes, who their group had been supporting Father Bills in MainSpring for years, but they were also willing to host a meeting. And sometimes the neighborhood meetings aren't the greatest meetings, but I can say it went really well. Something also about doing the meetings in a church might help with that. So, as we wrap up, before I give my final closing remarks, you know, we started and we'll always be thinking of the interfaith relations, the interfaith community. Father Bills in MainSpring, it was Brockton Interfaith, it was Quincy Interfaith that started this. You know, interfaith, our values, our principles are always with us there in our faith communities. So with that, I'd just like to ask the Reverend to come up and say some closing blessing.
Thank you, everybody. It's quite a blessing and a privilege to be the Catholic pastor of Stoughton, and to support such great works. The psalmist tells us that unless the Lord build a house, they labor in vain who build it. As we gather today, we can certainly say the Lord has built off something awesome here. And it's exciting to see how the Lord continues to work in this community and beyond to help us truly be that community of justice and peace for all. And so let us pray. Loving God, Father of the poor, and protector of the vulnerable, we gather before you today in gratitude and profound hope. As we dedicate these homes, built with faith, sacrifice, compassion, and perseverance, we humbly acknowledge that every good work begins in you, is sustained by your grace, and reaches its fulfillment in your love. We ask you now to pour out your blessing upon this place and all who will dwell within it. Lord, you create every person in your own image and likeness. You have bestowed upon each human being an unrepeatable dignity that no circumstance, not poverty, not displacement, not illness, not abandonment, can ever erase. Today we recognize and celebrate that dignity in a concrete way by opening doors that offer safety, stability, and a renewed sense of belonging. We ask you to consecrate these homes as spaces where your sons and daughters may rediscover their worth, rebuild their lives, and reclaim the joy and peace that come from knowing they are loved and cherished by you. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you called your people to journey through the desert, and you never abandoned them. For so many of your children today who have wandered through the deserts of homelessness, isolation, and fear, we ask you now to be a pillar of light and hope. As these new residents enter their homes, let them feel your presence dwelling with them, your spirit who consoles, heals, strengthens, and restores. Lord Jesus Christ, you yourself knew what it meant to say, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. You identified yourself with the poor, the marginalized, and the forgotten. In this moment of dedication, we ask you to walk through every room of these dwellings, to guard every door and window, and to make every corner a place of welcome. May these homes be sanctuaries where your peace reigns, where burdens are lifted, and where the promise of new beginnings is embraced with confidence and joy. God of justice, we thank you for the many hands that have brought this project to completion. Those who envisioned it, those who financed it, those who built it, those who advocated for it, and those who prayed for its success. Bless all who labored in unity and love, reflecting the truth that society thrives when we uphold the dignity of every person, when we protect the vulnerable, when we prioritize the needs of the poor. May this work stand as a testament to the gospel lived in action, a beacon of hope in our community, and a sign of your kingdom breaking into our world. Heavenly Father, we entrust to you the future of all who will live here. May your holy angels guard over them, ease their anxieties, heal their wounds, and strengthen their hearts. May they find meaningful work, supportive friendships, and the courage to pursue their goals. Let these homes be places where faith is renewed, where gratitude grows, and where every resident encounters the beauty and dignity you have given them. Finally, Lord, bless these buildings, their foundations, their walls, their roofs, and all they contain. Just as Psalm 127 reminds us that all human labor is fruitful only when rooted in you, we ask that this home building and home blessing be sealed by your grace. May all who enter here know that they are not alone, that they are seen and valued, and they have a place not only in this community, but in your heart forever. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I also want to give a shout out, as people have said, and the secretary, of course, knows it well, is the state funded over almost $7 million towards this project. And I see Bronya Clifton here from HLC, who's behind the scenes going through all the coordination of it, talking about a quarterback there. So thank you to Bronya for being here and all your support. If you haven't gotten a tour yet, please take a few minutes. I know it's been a long program, but as you can see, we really want, this is such a celebratory day for us. We want to give an opportunity for everybody to see what it takes to pull these things together. Our team will be right outside the tent to help you with tours. Everybody that spoke, anybody that's an official from the town of Stoughton, please, will go right in front of the building, because I know a lot of people have to leave, and we'll do a ribbon cutting photo and cut the ribbon too. So as the tenants, and hopefully we will be moving people in the next couple of months. I know our delegation has been making calls to National Grid. That is a little bit of the holdup right now. We could move people in really quickly. I know our good friend Tom Coulter is going to make a call, but if anybody knows it in National Grid, they're holding us up. But the tenants will be moving in very soon. These tenants could be your mom, they could be your grandfather, your sister, your cousin, your daughter. It could be you, it could be me. The people in this tent at this ribbon cutting, you care about the well-being of our most vulnerable citizens. Because of you, that well-being is our well-being. By supporting this project and others like it, you are supporting the health and sustainability of our community, your community. We are thankful and grateful for you. And at this point in time, as we've mentioned what's going on in Washington, we really need you. Thank you. God bless. Have a great day.
We'll cut on 3. Ready? So 1, 2, 3, go ahead and cut.
Yeah, right?